The first sound that broke the silence was the heavy slam of a car door. Then came the sight, an old man's trembling hands clutching a bundle of cash, his eyes wide, his breath shallow as though his whole life had cornered him in this moment. The leather briefcase sat gaping on the back seat, spilling its secret like a wound, stacks upon stacks of $100 bills, too crisp, too real to be ignored. Behind him, a tall figure in a royal blue suit stood motionless, his expression unreadable, like a judge waiting for the verdict. What would you do if you found yourself alone with a fortune that could erase every scar of poverty, every insult, every night of hunger? What decision could change the fate of an old man who had known nothing but hardship? Before we continue, if you're watching us for the first time, Elliot Stories welcomes you warmly with a big hug. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like this video, share it with someone you care about, and tell us the city you're watching us from in the comments. We love hearing from you. Now, let's get back to this story that will grip your heart until the very end. His name was Harold, though everyone in the neighborhood had simply called him Old Harry. At 68, his body bore the marks of years of labor, aching joints, stiff back, and palms hardened from work that paid little and demanded much. He had driven almost every kind of vehicle in his life, yellow cabs that carried lovers, drunks, and dreamers through the sleepless nights of New York, delivery trucks that hauled furniture too heavy for his tired frame, even hearses that carried souls to their final rest. Decades of experience behind the wheel, yet Harold had no house of his own, no pension to lean on, and no family left to call his own. Life had not been kind. His wife, Mary, had passed years earlier after an illness he couldn't afford to fight properly. His only son had moved away and cut all ties, ashamed of the life they'd struggled through. 4 years, Harold survived paycheck to paycheck, sometimes sleeping in his cab to save money on rent. Nights blurred into days, and the world seemed to move on without him. But Grace has a way of finding the forgotten. One morning, after another hopeless night, Harold stumbled across a job listing taped to the glass window of a recruitment office. Driver wanted. Confidential employer. Excellent pay. Something about it seemed too good to be true, but Harold's spirit pushed him forward. With his thinning hair combed back and his one good shirt pressed as best as he could, he walked into the interview. That's when he first met Mr. Donovan Grant, the billionaire tech mogul whose name was whispered with both admiration and envy in boardrooms across the country. Donovan had built an empire of software, gadgets, and global influence. Yet behind his steely blue eyes was a man who tested loyalty the way others tested engines, ruthlessly, methodically. Experience? Donovan asked. 45 years behind the wheel, sir. No accidents. No DUIs. Clean record. Donovan studied him. The old man's back was straight, his voice steady, but there was something in his eyes, something that spoke of hunger, of dignity barely holding together. Donovan hired him on the spot. For the first time in years, Harold felt his chest swell with pride. A stable job, a chance to drive not just another worn-out cab but sleek luxury cars, each one shining like a dream. He wore his uniform with honor. Every morning, he greeted Donovan with a good day, sir, and every evening, he polished the car until it mirrored the night sky. But Donovan was not a man who trusted easily. He believed loyalty had to be tested, and for Harold, that test came suddenly. That evening, Donovan told Harold to wait by the driveway as he stepped into the mansion. Minutes later, Harold discovered the open car door, the briefcase inside, and the money, so much money his mind nearly shattered trying to count it. His hands shook as he touched the bills, a storm of thoughts racing through his mind. All the rent he had owed. The medicine Mary could have had. The years of hunger, of humiliation. His throat tightened as sweat gathered on his brow. He could walk away right now, vanish into the city, and no one would ever find him. Or he could close the case, lock the car, and act as though temptation had never brushed his soul. And somewhere in the shadows, Donovan was watching. Harold's heart pounded as he clutched the bills. He wasn't a thief. He never had been. But wasn't this fate's way of paying him back for decades of pain? His knees weakened. He looked around. Silence, only crickets and the soft hum of the car's engine. The night seemed to whisper, "Take it. No one will know." But deep inside, another voice spoke louder. It was Mary's voice, the memory of his wife, who used to hold his hands and whisper, "Harry, no matter how poor we are, let's not lose our soul." Tears welled up in his eyes. Slowly, his trembling fingers slid the money back into the briefcase. He straightened his back, closed it carefully, and sat behind the wheel, waiting. Minutes later, Donovan appeared. His sharp gaze fell immediately on Harold. "Step out of the car," he commanded. Harold obeyed, chest tight. Donovan walked to the briefcase, opened it, and saw everything exactly as he'd left it. He turned back, studying Harold like a hawk. "You touched it," Donovan said coldly. Harold's lips quivered. "I did, sir. I picked it up. For a moment, I thought," his voice cracked. "But then I remembered who I am. I've lived too long with nothing. If I take what isn't mine now, then everything my wife believed about me will be a lie. I couldn't do it." For a long moment, Donovan said nothing. Then, to Harold's shock, the billionaire's stern face broke into a smile. "That's exactly what I needed to hear." Harold blinked, confused. "That briefcase," Donovan said. "It's not just money. It's a test. Everyone I hire for my inner circle faces it. Loyalty and integrity cannot be bought, and tonight, Harold, you proved that." Harold's knees nearly gave out. "Sir, you mean? You're not just my driver anymore. From today, you'll oversee my personal fleet, and your salary just tripled." Tears burned Harold's cheeks. The man who had once been mocked as Old Harry was now standing in front of a billionaire who trusted him with more than cars. He trusted him with honor. For the first time in years, Harold felt alive, seen, and valued. From that day on, Harold drove not just with skill but with dignity. Donovan introduced him to guests as "the man I trust with my life." Harold moved into a small but beautiful home, reconnected with his estranged son, and became living proof that sometimes the storms we endure are only preparing us for grace. The world saw a poor old man. But Donovan saw something more, a man whose character was worth more than a briefcase full of cash. And to you listening right now, here's the moral. No matter how dark your struggles, integrity will always shine brighter than gold. Life might test you, tempt you, and corner you, but the choices you make when no one is watching will decide your destiny. This is Elliot Stories reminding you, hold on, because grace will always find you where you least expect it.